Hi, everyone. Welcome and happy Thursday. Just taking a look at the um, attendee list real quick, making sure everyone's getting in okay. As you join, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Um, Tell us your name, where you're coming from, and if you have any fun weekend plans since it is Friday Eve. I'm trying to think if I have any fun weekend plans. I think we're practicing maybe smoking some meat for the Super Bowl party that we're gonna have in a couple weeks. So that's about it. But yeah, like I said, introduce yourself in the chat, let us know where you're coming from, and if you have any fun weekend plans. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So my name is Kayla Musel. I am the program manager here at the U.S. Green Building Council of West Michigan. We are delighted to have Brian Keller here with us today from Waypoint Energy. He will be talking about occupancy-based strategic energy management, which is a pilot program between Consumers Energy and Waypoint Energy. A quick reminder, keep using the chat to introduce yourself, but there is that Q&A feature as well. If you have questions throughout the webinar, we will have time at the end. So if you want to put your questions in the Q&A, that'll just keep us a little bit more organized at the end. And if you are enjoying this content or our webinars and everything we put out, and you're not a member, you can do so by scanning this QR code. I'll also have Allie put the link in the chat to the website. But our members are the reason that we can do the work that we do. We have a lot of really great programs going on right now. We house the Grand Rapids 2030 district, facilitate the Michigan Battle of the Buildings, and we are partnered with the city and the Urban Core Collective on the EH0 program. So we've got a lot of really great stuff going on right now, and we would love to have you join us. And to all of the members that are on our call, thank you as always for your support and welcome to another webinar. And a big thank you to our visionary supporters, DTE, Consumers Energy, Eagle, and the Wege Foundation. And here is our agenda. Brian's going to have about 40 minutes for his presentation, and we do have time allocated at the end for Q&A. So I'll stop sharing and let Brian take over.
Sounds great. Thank you. All right. Can everyone see my screen well? Okay and everything?
Looks good.
Perfect. Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you so much, everyone, and good morning. Really appreciate you jumping on to listen and learn more about this, what I feel is a very exciting new pilot program through Consumers Energy. So just to kind of further introduce myself, because I know there's a lot of names thrown around and a lot of, different, it can be a little confusing on how things kind of work. So I do work directly with a company called Waypoint Energy. We work with Consumers Energy to help run and implement this pilot program, this, pilot concept for them. So I am, in a sense, a representative of Consumers Energy, but I do work as like essentially an outside contractor, and then my main company is Waypoint Energy. So can help with any of the energy efficiency areas of Consumers Energy, but anything with service delivery, I would be able to help you get to that department, but couldn't answer any other questions other than that. So Yes, and we're here to talk about occupancy-based strategic energy management. And given how much of a mouthful that is, I'm going to refer to it as OBSEM from here on out. But just as a little bit of as I go through everything and just say OBSEM a million times, occupancy-based strategic energy management. So our agenda for today's presentation is first, we're just going to start with a high-level overview of the OBSEM program. We'll go through the benefits of participating, all the services and advantages that can be delivered and taken from participating in the program, what the enrollment process looks like. So like next steps, what do I need to do? And then also what the time commitment of participating in this program looks like. We're all, we all have our regular day-to-day jobs, so 40 hours of our week are already taken up. Participating in a program like this could be extra on top of that. So we just want to be very clear and conscientious of what the time commitment is and how to best get the most out of this program by working with us and being an active participant. So the quick overview, we'll start with half of this acronym. What is SEM? So, we're specializing, or we're kind of focusing in on an area with the occupancy-based portion of it. But generally speaking, what is even SEM? So SEM, strategic energy management. It's the application of principles of continuous energy management to improve and create comprehensive approach, resulting in significant long-term benefits. So a lot of times with energy efficiency programs, there could be either an inconsistent level of participation. Maybe there's a bunch of upgrades at a facility in 1 year. You receive a lot of incentive money through Consumers Energy to perform those upgrades and save energy long term. And then maybe a year, 2 or 3 goes by, and you go, you know what? Let's take another look. What else can we do? And it can be kind of be intermittent and inconsistent. So, or maybe it just kind of it happens randomly, and maybe somebody with a lot of internal knowledge leaves for a new opportunity, and it takes a while for a replacement to kind of get up to speed and understand the struggles or weaknesses of a facility. So anyway you cut it, a lot of times participation and the thought of improving and being more energy efficient within the building isn't so continuous, isn't so ever growing or evolving. So SEM is a concept that comes in, lays down some basic principles, things to look for, approaches to take, processes to implement, so that, internally as an organization, as a group, you're always finding new ways to save energy, manage your energy better. And it's that continuous improvement, that, long-term evolution, and you're always getting better and better little by little, year after year after year. So that's the idea behind this program, is to kind of implement those concepts and ideas, and then also focus in on that occupancy-based portion, which is a coming slide. So we'll get to that in a sec. But so some market trends that we noticed when we were kind of diving into how can we best serve the market, how can we best find ways to save energy in a little bit more creative ways, or just in ways that are staring us in the face where we're just not able to recognize it. So we noticed that due to the pandemic, office occupancy rates fell from 91% in the end of 2019 pre-pandemic to about 22% in January of 2021. So kind of what that means, within commercial real estate, I'm sure a lot of you in the audience kind of understand, but just in case, I'll make sure I go through everything that's in my brain. The difference between occupancy and vacancy. So if there's a vacant area of an office building, that just means it's a suite or a space that hasn't been leased out. It's someone can come in and lease that. It's currently empty, and also not generating any revenue through rent. Occupant, an occupied/unoccupied area means that there's a lease in place, there's a tenant that is there, but are the people coming in, or are they at home working, or coming in at different times, and not your classic 9 to 5 Monday through Friday schedule. So I'll continue diving into that as we get into more detail, but I just wanted to kind of say that off the top just to better explain this statistic. So essentially, instead of everybody going into their office 5 days a week at a 91% rate in 2019, that fell to about a 22% rate by January, which makes a lot of sense. A lot of us witnessed that. A lot of us experienced that, with kind of sheltering at home and staying away from people for quite an extended period of time. But then when you look at that same time period at the energy usage at the similar facilities, the energy usage only dropped about 15%. So there's about a 70% delta between the occupancy rate, but only a 15% delta between the energy usage. And yes, that's never going to necessarily be one-to-one, but at least that drastic difference just kind of stood up and shouted at us that there's definitely more to gain in the energy reduction and energy management side of things when your building has low occupancy. So based off of these fundamental trends in the market, we then went on to kind of design this occupancy-based SEM program. So the OB portion is specifically designed to address the occupancy shifts in office buildings at the portfolio level. So, if it's a management company with many buildings that they oversee, we're going to look at all of those buildings at that kind of high level, and then kind of go in one by one into finer details as we move forward in the process. But our main goal is to evaluate the occupancy of the vacancy and also the energy usage. So taking those three factors, kind of preparing a little bit of a baseline or a benchmark, and kind of analyze how each of those connects with the other one, and where the opportunity to save energy is. And also, the ways we're going to save that energy is by identifying operational saving measures, as well as those higher capital projects that are eligible for the Consumers Energy Incentive. So it's not all just coming in saying, well, if you spend multiple millions, you're going to save a bunch of energy. We're going to come in there and look for those low-hanging fruit, those low cost, no cost, those simple, change a few set points in the system type measures as well. And then if there are some larger capital improvements that can be beneficial, new chiller, upgrading your building automation system, those bigger things that need to be planned a little bit more in advance in the budget cycle. We'll call those out too and provide the analysis for that, but we're not just going to come in and try to find big things. We're going to look for a lot of those small things as well. The other great thing to kind of celebrate here is this program is completely free for Consumers Energy customers. So if any of the commercial buildings you either work with, or manage are within the Consumers Energy service territory, whether it's electric only, gas only, or both, then it's eligible for this program, and it's at no additional cost. All that is worked out kind of on the back end through line items on everybody's energy bills. So yeah, there's no additional cost for these services. So who should participate? What is the best fit for this program? So initially, this program was designed around CRE, commercial real estate firms, and some other corporate occupiers. So essentially, mid to high rise office was what we were looking for. As we kind of initiated this program back in May of last year, really started talking with the market and getting to know at a more of a human level, less of a data level, kind of what's going on within the market. We soon realized that office buildings aren't the only ones that can really benefit. Higher education and universities are a good candidate. Hospitality and hotels are a good candidate, as well as some light industrial can even be really good candidates for this program. So a lot of this is kind of focused around office space, but don't fear if your facility isn't pure office. We can definitely have a conversation and learn more about your individual facilities and see how we can help, or if there's other offerings provided by Consumers Energy that are better fits, we'll definitely coordinate with those and get you set up with that too. So some more motivation for participating in the OBSEM program. So if any facilities are out there looking at the ISO 50001 ready certification, that is a very specific certification, but an SEM program is kind of designed and built off of that standard too. So participating in an SEM program is a good foundational kind of step to take to put you in a really good spot to get that, ISO 50001 ready certification. If there are any ESG goals out there, or whether a facility is currently going through the ESG process, or if they're looking to kind of dip their toe in there, participating in a program like this is a great way to get that, deep dive into kind of all the nooks and crannies of your facility, and also kind of educate the staff and build those processes that will then be a long-term beneficial and are a great component of building the ESG portion, if that's what you're planning on doing. If you're in the midst of capital project planning, definitely participate so we can identify those larger capital projects that are beneficial. And then you can put those into your budget cycle, whether it's, at this point, I'm assuming that 2023 budgets are all locked up, so it'd probably be planning for 2024 and beyond. But even so, it's always good to identify those projects, kind of have them in your roadmap, and try to build them out for years to come, and kind of allot that capital for them. Any energy management planning, so just getting a better understanding of how your facility uses energy and how you can manage that and kind of get more control over it. If there are any other sustainability initiatives, either internally or externally or at higher corporate levels, this program kind of help you get set up and help design those. And also just, it's a good way to improve tenant satisfaction and increase occupancy long-term. So, by participating in a program like this, you're going to make your tenant spaces be more comfortable, just because, if you're managing that energy better and heating and cooling that space more effectively, the tenants are going to be happier. Your building staff's going to be happier. They're not going to be running around, messing with, thermostats just because someone is saying it's too hot or too cold. And then ultimately, it's a good kind of marketing tool to say that your building is, emphasizing it and taking a real initiative in energy efficiency and energy management. And hopefully that'll draw in some more future tenants as well. So, this graphic here is kind of a way to show each step of the process and how they connect and how it can be cyclical and kind of, rinse and repeat type idea year after year after year, or even in larger chunks of a year, maybe every 3 years or something like that. Whatever fits the model of your facility is a it can be applied through this program. So for starting number one, you enroll in the program. The next step is to kind of take a look at the occupancy and vacancy. So we call that kind of the occupancy vacancy assessment. We want to see how your building is being used, what the habits of the staff and other employees are, what your operating hours are, all those things like that. We take that into account and kind of get an idea of where those inconsistencies or where those low points are in the occupancy schedule. We'll then benchmark your portfolio. So take all of the buildings that you own or manage, compare them against each other, and kind of allow it to call out some higher using energy in specific buildings, and then we can kind of target those first and work our way through the portfolio. What we do is we target those buildings, we then perform a facility energy assessment. So our energy engineer will go on site, walk through the facility, ask a bunch of questions, see how the building is operating, how those energy systems are being used, take some notes, and then build it into an energy efficiency report that will kind of break down each of those identified areas for improvement or energy efficiency measures, break down what would need to be done to complete them, how much energy can be saved as a result, how much money can be saved as a result of reducing that energy usage, and also any other factors that are useful to your internal decision-making process, rate of return, simple payback period, um, you know, anything like that, increase in asset value, we can kind of work that into that too, to see by making these improvements, how does it improve the value of the facility? All of those types of factors. From there, we'll go into some energy coaching modules. So basically, we have about 5 different modules that we break down, where it'll be about an hour at a time over the course of multiple months. So this isn't like we're going to sit down for 5 hours straight. So it'd be about an hour-long presentation, go through some material, whether it's specifically on lighting or your HVAC systems, but even just kind of like connecting energy savings to asset value, things like that. So we have different categories we go through to help, educate and help your staff learn about different ways that you can think about energy and think about how you use energy. And then we'll implement any measures that want to move forward with. So any of those projects we identify, if we want to move forward and implement those, we'll go ahead and do so. We'll verify the energy savings. And when we're implementing these measures, rest assured that we'll help you every step of the way to put forth the application and receive those incentive dollars through Consumers Energy. Yeah, we'll verify those energy savings after the project's been implemented, and then we'll do some reporting and reflecting and kind of lessons learned and an overview of all the success that has happened. And then from there, we can always kind of roll back into the process and kind of reassess as time goes on. So part of this occupancy and vacancy assessment, so we're going to review the tenant space profiles in your leasing structures, kind of get an idea of when certain leases started, when certain leases ended, kind of what that cycle and what that turnover kind of looks like. We'll do an analysis of the occupancy rates. So ideally, if a building has any type of security access point, so if faculty need to kind of swipe a card or type in a code or anything like that, we'll try to tap into that data to see when people are coming, when people are leaving, what days of the week, what times of the day, all those good things. And it's a really good granular way of seeing that. Otherwise, if that system doesn't exist or we are unable to access that data, we'll then kind of see what type of individual office policies are in place. Maybe the policy is that all employees come in 5 days a week, 9 to 5. Maybe the policy is it's optional. You can come in if you want. You can work from home if you want. Or maybe there are dedicated 2 days or 3 days a week of being in the office and the other remaining being working remotely. We'll kind of see what those policies are and go from there. And then also, some of the best resources out there are just the building engineers. They always know the building the best. They're there every single day, no matter what. They're seeing things. They're, interacting with the tenants and everything like that. So kind of getting their input as well. The facility assessment. So the facility assessment is kind of, depending on the complexity of the building, it can be kind of on the more of the simple side, kind of that ASHRAE level 1 style, or it can even be as detailed as an ASHRAE level 2 style assessment. It is an in-person walkthrough with our engineer on our team. It does produce a report, which includes an overview of the energy saving opportunities and also all of the financial incentives that are provided by Consumers Energy for all those eligible projects. So over to the side here, we kind of have a little snapshot example of what our report looks like. So page 1 has that overview, shows you what your baseline energy usage is, and then what the energy savings would be if you implemented all the projects that are kind of called out in this report. And then each page kind of goes into detail on each of those specific projects identified. So what are some benefits of participating other than everything I've gone through already? What are some other benefits? So ultimately, the goal is to reduce energy through those operational and capital projects. So, both those smaller, low cost, no cost operational, how you're building functions type opportunities, as well as those larger capital projects. Ultimately, like increasing your operational efficiency. That's the main goal. We want to also increase the asset value through these capital projects and energy planning. So there is a correlation between, improvements of the building, and then, it's same concept of if you remodel your bathroom before you sell your house, it'll increase the value of your property, and you can kind of, sell it for more money. Same idea, just on this larger, more commercial scale. We want to increase the tenant comfort and improve the tenant retention of your building as well. We want your tenants to be happy. We want them to want to stay in your buildings. Connect with the financial incentives provided by Consumers Energy. So all that money that's on the table to be taken and used to implement these energy efficiency projects, we want you to take full advantage of those, and we will make sure that that happens. We also want to create a strong internal team that has all the tools and knowledge for that proactive energy planning. So whether it's forming a more formal like sustainability group or committee within your teams, where they kind of meet maybe on a monthly basis and reassess and kind of be that go-to, those energy champions within your organization, so that thought process and energy planning and long-term energy management does actually take place. So some of the services delivered through this program are the occupancy vacancy survey. So the more deep dive into those details, maybe hopefully identifying something maybe you're unaware of. The site assessment and report, I would say this is kind of what the biggest benefit, just to have a professional engineer go through and identify any and every energy efficiency opportunity there is in your building. That's very, very valuable. Having that expert engineering advice, as well as our energy coaching modules to kind of better educate you and your teams on kind of how energy is used in your building and how you can better think about it and better management long term. Any tenant engagement and education strategies, once again, linking that back to tenant recruitment and tenant retention. Project management support. So when you're implementing those projects, new lighting, new chillers, installing variable speed drives, adjusting or adding on updates to your building automation systems, we're here to support you through that project management process. Make sure that the incentives portion of those projects are easy and well taken care of, and help with anything else we can help with. Also helping with the eligibility requirements for the applications. So, Consumers Energy, we do our best to make the application process and the incentive process as easy and low lift as possible. But at the end of the day, there is paperwork. There is, things to double check, making sure the equipment you plan on installing is actually eligible for those incentives. All those little details, all those I's that need to be dotted, T's that need to be crossed. We're here to help support with that too, to make it take on as much of that portion as we can ourselves and take that off your plate as well, so that it doesn't become a thorn in your side. So the time commitment. So an SEM program in general, and the OBSEM program likewise, is designed to be a 12-month process. So it is a bit of a long-term relationship here. So within that 12-month process, that's ideas from start to finish. So from day one being the date of enrollment, and day 365 being the reflection and the overview of the successes and improvements and where we are now, kind of that before and after comparison. So it includes that whole cyclical process, but within those 12 months, we do have the building assessment. So having either a building engineer or someone who has access to the building and can guide our engineer through the facility and unlock doors that need to be unlocked, and bring them to the mechanical room, things like that. We'll need to have that. So we'll have to volunteer someone's time for maybe 60 to 1 to 2 hours for that site assessment. We'll have our 5 60-minute energy coaching sessions. Those will be spread over a couple of months, so it's never going to be too many 60-minute sessions at a time. And we'll also have about 4 to 6 30-minute status updates calls. So we want to have that some regular update, regular touch base type meetings, just to make sure everything's going on okay, if there's anything else we can do, scheduling the next energy coaching session, all those things like that. So all in all, this is kind of the overall time commitment we're looking for, is kind of having some regular meetings from 30 to 60 minutes, and then having some building access during that site assessment. And on top of that, any other further questions outside of these meetings, we have our account manager, or our partner, our team member that is your liaison, that you can reach out to any day, anytime, asking questions and searching for updates. So the enrollment process. So usually we start out with some sort of introductory call, similar to this presentation, actually, breaking down the details of the program, benefits, and time commitment. And then from there is an MOU, or memorandum of understanding. I always kind of mess it up, so I just go with MOU, where it is a form that you would need to kind of read through and sign. And then once that form is signed, that MOU is signed and submitted, you are officially enrolled and we are good to go in the process. So we do, part of that MOU form is some consent to access the consumer's energy usage data. And basically what that means is, Consumers Energy takes your information, your energy usage data, they protect that and they take it very seriously. So even though being in that kind of outside contractor, and we are contracted through Consumers Energy to implement this program, and we have been vetted and have been shown our own cybersecurity setup and all that other stuff, it still is only like one of 2 steps to take in order to actually gain access to your energy usage. So providing consent to access that energy usage, and have Consumers Energy deliver that information to us, that is also just kind of folded into that MOU form. So that's kind of why it's a part of the process as well. And then we want to schedule a more detailed introduction call with the entire team that will be kind of involved in this process. So whether that's building engineers, any type of facility management or property management members that want to be a part of this whole process, get that whole team together, and we'll have a more in-depth introduction call with them as well to kind of kick off the process. And that's it. So let's see, I did pretty good on time, only 6 minutes quicker than about I should have been. So we do have ample time for any questions. Here is my contact information up here. Brian Keller, program manager. Sari Mura is our energy engineer. It's his contact information here. And Dylan Ackerman is the energy efficiency analyst, that main point of contact that you'll be working with outside of any engineering needs when you're you're enrolled in the program. So all three of us, we have our contact information up here. Feel free to give us a call, send us an email, anything like that. We're happy to have more detailed conversations. So I will open it up to any questions that there may be.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian.
Yeah.
The first one I see is, do you have a copy of like a facility assessment that you could share, whether it's right now or, if we get it and we can send it in the follow-up email?
Yes. Yes, so we do have a sample report set up, basically just similar to that image on the slide where it's like 123 Main Street. It's all just, that anonymous information, but it does provide examples of projects that can be identified and some of the breakdown in the energy savings, the dollar savings, the payback period, all that. So yeah, we do have a sample report that I can connect with Kayla, provide that, and it can be sent out in the follow-up as well. So yes, we do have a more detailed sample report to take a look at.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so here's another one. If someone is looking to enroll, is there any due diligence they could do ahead of time, like an updated Energy Star or non-consumers energy utility invoices? Yeah, what could they do ahead of time?
Yes, no, good question. So if there is any information that you kind of already have somewhat organized, whether it is previous Energy Star data or information, or like you mentioned, ultimately, if you do have other utility services, so for example, if you're in the Grand Rapids area and you have Consumers Energy for your electric service and maybe DTE for your natural gas service, we're happy to take a look at the natural gas side or identify anything that could potentially save natural gas long term, and then we'll make sure that the DTE representatives or whatever that utility representative is kind of gets involved, so it's a little bit more of a one-stop shop, and where we are at the end of the day, we're more partners than competitors with other utilities, so we can definitely get them involved too. So any additional information, natural gas utility invoices and stuff like that, I suppose that would be helpful just so we can get a better understanding of how the building is operating. So yes, I guess long story short, yes, any other collection of that information that would be helpful, and it would be beneficial to kind of do that due diligence ahead of time.
Do you use Energy Star for benchmarking?
So we do have yes, we can use Energy Star for the benchmarking. So if that is a process that either has already been undertaken by a facility to kind of have their Energy Star portfolio manager account set up and kind of historical information there, we're happy to continue with that process and not kind of stray away or kind of get off the beaten path from there. If or if they have not done Energy Star portfolio management before, but would like to kind of get into it and see this as a good opportunity, we can definitely do that. But we also have kind of our own kind of internally created tool that we can use as well. So there's kind of multiple options. It's part of that discussion up front where whatever if there's a specific preference between the different platforms, we can kind of move forward with either one.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are the energy coaching sessions in person, on site, or are they remote? Okay, sorry, in person and on site, or are they remote sessions, also specific to the property or general to all participants?
Yes, excellent question. So with the energy coaching sessions and kind of whatever fits better with everyone's schedule, it can definitely be in person or it can definitely be done virtually. It kind of all depends on what if there's a preference or just kind of working with everyone's schedule. So it can be either or in those options. And when we do the energy coaching, those are meant to be for whoever either wants to learn about them or whoever can benefit learning about them too. And the other thing to consider, we understand that there's a lot of different backgrounds and different knowledge bases that can be in those conversations. So for example, like maybe the building engineer won't really get much out of like the lighting energy module, just because maybe they already know all that and are very, very familiar. But maybe the property manager or an asset manager within the corporation really can learn a lot from it. So we can kind of cater to whomever is going to be in that audience, or we can either have some different discussions at different knowledge base levels as well, to make sure that everyone is either learning something new, or nothing is too advanced or over the head of anyone either.
Awesome. Would this program integrate with the monitoring-based commissioning program that is already in place?
Good question. So I'm going to answer it two ways, just because I am interpreting that question two ways. So on one hand, if you're looking into the monitoring-based commissioning program or are familiar with it, how do they kind of compare and contrast? So we are a separate kind of independent offering from the monitoring-based commissioning program, but at the same time, so yes, we would kind of do our own process and do our own thing. But the great thing about SEM is it is specifically designed to be that all-encompassing and kind of cover everything. And kind of a benefit off of that is that it's very easily integrated or coordinated with any other offering. So for example, if we wanted to do this OBSEM program but wanted to learn more about monitoring based commissioning, or wanted to incorporate that as well, we could very much coordinate with that offering also, and make sure that we're taking all the necessary steps, whether it's do some part of the OBSEM process first, establish some baselines, come in with monitoring based to get into those more finer details, and putting those data loggers on, collecting that data long term, and monitoring it, and kind of tweaking in live time with that. So it can be, I know my answer is kind of open-ended, but I guess I can say they can either be handled separately, or yes, we can coordinate and make sure they get integrated best together, so that it's taking full advantage of both opportunities at once.
Would you suggest then that maybe if someone's looking at both, that the OBSM is done first and then kind of moving into monitoring based commissioning?
Yeah, so generally speaking, my initial recommendation would be kind of getting involved in the OBSEM program first, just because we can do some of those initial things where we can do the occupancy and vacancy assessment, we can do the facility assessment, we can do some of the benchmarking, kind of gather all that information and get those that perspective first, and then we can maybe then bring in monitoring based commissioning, and they can work off of some of those already identified pieces of information and things like that. That being said too, we're happy to have that conversation with that program, get all those minds in one conversation, compare, contrast, and kind of identify what is the best path for moving forward, and how to best coordinate these two offerings.
Great. Yeah, that was a really good question.
Mhm.
One more. This is a comprehensive program with a full menu of services delivered and is free. How is the program funded?
Aha. This is maybe the best question asked at any time that there's a program like this being talked about. So the way it works is it's funded by everybody. So there is a line item on everybody's utility bill. So whether it's your Consumers Energy electric bill, a Consumers Energy gas bill, or anything like that, there is a line item called energy efficiency programs, and it's only a couple of cents a month, but all of that gets taken from all of the customers within the service territory, and that funding gets put into kind of one big pot, and then redistributed out through these programs and everything. So that's kind of how it's funded. So it's one of those things that whether you have sent in an application and received an incentive or done any energy efficiency projects at all, you are already participating in a sense just because you're paying into it month by month. So it's always great to see what your options are, see how you can best take advantage and get some of that money back as well.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Uh, I was also wondering too, as you talked about, we're talking about occupancy, and my brain goes to occupancy sensors on lighting. It goes to maybe more like demand control ventilation on your HVAC system. Can you talk a little bit about what is actually typically put in place?
Yes. So all those examples you mentioned are great examples, and that's exactly part of what we're looking for too. So, with this, this inconsistent intermittent schedule that a lot of these buildings are seeing now with different remote work policies and things like that. It used to be, that 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Maybe some of the building systems kick in around 7 a.m. or so, just to make sure everything is set up for those who arrive a little bit early, or at least by 9 o'clock. And, it kind of starts winding down around 7 p.m. or whatever the case may be. And now it could be, some days of the week, the building is 75% occupied, some days 25% occupied, and it's kind of all over the place. So the best way to kind of help control that is putting in those occupancy sensors or that demand controlled ventilation type ideas, right? So it'll best idea, if somebody walks into a room and trips the occupancy sensor, the lights were off before, they're on now. If someone leaves, they turn off. So it's the best way to kind of make a simple situation a little bit smarter. And then on top of that, with demand control ventilation, if it's 25% occupied, then there's only 25% of that, demand that is identified, and then the HVAC system or ventilation system can operate to those needs as well, and it can ramp up and ramp down and everything like that. So those components are big factors into what we're looking for. If a facility either doesn't have some of those systems, those are great systems to install and receive incentive dollars through consumers to install them, as well as if we've walked into some buildings already where they have the fundamentals for those systems. They're just maybe not calibrated right. They're not talking to each other. They're not utilized in the best way. So coming in and basically kind of learning how they currently operate them and how they can better operate them, more effectively operate them, that's also opportunities we've seen as well. So even if you already have some of those systems, you can kind of say to yourself, well, let's just get an outside set of eyes on them and kind of see if we're really using them the best way that we can, and kind of go from there. So don't think that you're not a good candidate if you have some of those occupancy-based or demand controlled systems in place already.
Great. And then final question, where do they, if someone wants to um, participate in this, do they contact you, anyone on that list? Is there a formal process for them to apply? Where do they go?
Yes, excellent question. So definitely reach out to, myself or, my two other team members with their contact information listed here. We'll definitely kind of have a little brief conversation just to, see any more detailed questions you may have, or kind of what your interest levels are. And then from there, we can supply you with any additional information requested, or we can definitely provide you with that MOU needed, and then we can go from there, and we'll work together from there. So yeah, reaching out to us. And we also have a website that has some resources and information. So we after you reach out to us, we can provide you with that website link as well, so you can kind of dive into some more information on your time and kind of at your own pace as well.
Awesome. I think that was a pretty good Q&A session we got
Yeah.
there. And thank you so much for your presentation. I hope you get a lot of inquiries.
Yeah,
um,
same.
seeing the progress that this program will make over the next year or so.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you everyone who attended, and thank you so much for all your questions as well. It's going through slides is that's not so fun. Answering questions and having that dialogue, that's the fun part. So definitely appreciate all the questions at the end, and also a very big thank you to USGBC of West Michigan for hosting this presentation and allowing the program the opportunity to speak to everyone. We're really appreciative and hope that we can have some more conversations with some of you out there in the near future.
Yeah. I do want to throw a quick reminder out there to everyone as well that to keep an eye on our newsletter for more events like this. We do have another webinar coming up on the 22nd of February, and that will be on lead. So we're looking forward to that one. And yes, Allie just threw that link for the newsletter in the chat. So I hope everyone has a great rest of your day and a great weekend as well. So thank you.